Om Jnanatimanasya Chnanchana Slanka Sakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shigave Namah Chitchetaya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svamrutpadanam Dadati Sva Pradantikam Vandeham Shiru Shiyuda Padakam Shiram Vaishnavam Sha Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paritana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakalita Shivshakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Siddhadevi Pranamama Haripriye Vankra Kalpta Vishakri Pasan Bevisha Padnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavya Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskataya Desyatarana Srila Prabhupada Ki. So welcome to the second part of the seminar, A Glimpse of Vraja-prema. We try to understand or to get a good idea of what it means to be a Vrajavasi, absorbed in Krishna prema. That yesterday we discussed already some characteristics of Vraja-prema. What makes it different from ordinary prema, we can say. Why is it so special? Krishna explained to Uddhava. And Krishna made different points, at least 3 points we discussed yesterday. You remember one of them? Vraja-prema? Yes?
They don't see Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as their son or Vatsangalasa or Vakirasa, the different relationships that they show that don't see Krishna as nothing more than person.
Yeah, so they do not approach the Supreme Lord as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. That they don't see the Lord's opulences. We will discuss that also further today. Another characteristics, yeah?
Krishna is attracted by the devotion. So
yes, that was the first point, that the Vrajavasis, they control Krishna with their love. And there was a third point.
Remember, can only get prema association with pure devotee.
Yep, that's about the process, right? To get Vraja-prema, well, one must associate with pure devotees.
Nothing else.
That's the most important. Yeah. The best yogis, yes. Their mind cannot be deviated even from a moment of Krishna. They just can't forget him at any moment. And the greatest yogis, they try to fix their mind on Krishna or the super soul with great effort, but they cannot get rid of Krishna. Always so deeply absorbed. So about this, like Nanda Maharaj, this is in 10th canto, after Krishna was for some time in Mathura, he sent Uddhav to Vrindavan to console the Vrajavasis. And when he arrived there in the evening, a very nice atmosphere. He was welcomed by Nanda Maharaj. Mother Yasoda did not come out of the house. She was always crying that she didn't look up. Was always crying and her head down. And Nanda Maharaj, yeah, you could see that he was very much affected by Krishna's absence. And so interesting is the Uddhav was thinking they are suffering so much from separation from Krishna. So I will try to make their prema more intense, to let it come down. Then they will not suffer so much. So Uddhav started to explain to Nanda Maharaj that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the controller of the universe. He's in everyone's heart, in every atom. And he went on for some time. But it had no effect on Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj said to Uddhav, I forgive you. You are much younger than me. I know, Garga Muni has said that my son is equal to Narayan, that we have to take care of him nicely. But he said that my son is not Narayan. I know Narayan. We are worshipping every day Narayan, or Salagram Shila, but Narayan is Satya Sankalpa. He speaks always the truth. That is pure transcendental goodness. But my Krishna, he lies. He lies and he steals. How can he be Narayan? When I say to Krishna, bring my shoes, then he brings my shoes. And if we don't feed him in time, then he becomes angry. So, how can he be Narayan? No, Krishna is my son. So that's the Vrajavasis. They have all their rasa, and with that rasa together is a staibhav. And the staibhav means continued ecstasy, that in a certain mood. And their staibhav is parental love. They see Krishna as their son, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda. So that is, they don't see Krishna's opulence. The same thing happened many years later. This we find in chapter 82 of the 10th canto. There was the solar eclipse. The solar eclipse at Kurukshetra. And yes, they went, all the Vrajavasis, all the residents from Dwarka, they went all to Kurukshetra to see Krishna. But when the Vrajavasis arrived, they kept first themselves they kept a little distance from this Dvarkadasis, from this residents of Dvarka. But then Vasudev saw Nanda and Yasoda and all the Vrajavasis. Because when Krishna arrived, it was announced, Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, has arrived. But for Nanda Maharaj, he was thinking that that's some common mistake. So Vasudeva, when they saw Nanda and Yasoda, they led them into his tent while they were holding Krishna's hands, the hands of Krishna and Balaram. And also Rohini came inside the tent, and other men of Raj, and a number of other Vrajavasis. But inside, Nanda and Yasoda took the two boys on their laps. They were already grown up, but for them it was just their 6-year-old son. So, despite having heard the glories of the two lords of Dvarka, Krishna and Balaram, and despite seeing all the opulence before their eyes, because Krishna and Balaram were dressed as princes, and that's royal, that they looked upon them like they were their 8-year-old children. This is, in the Bhagavatam it is said, raising their two sons onto their laps and holding them in their arms, Nanda and saintly mother Yasoda forgot their sorrow. That separation was over. So their prema could not be conquered by Krishna's opulences. They saw all this wealth of the residents of Dvarka, all this Aishvarya, that they saw it in front of them, but they didn't see Aishvarya Krishna. They didn't see Krishna with all these opulences. They saw Madhurya Krishna, the sweet Krishna. They saw the Krishna of Vrindavan. It didn't matter what Krishna did in Vrindavan or what he was wearing. For them, it was just their little son. In Nectar of the Devotion, there is a description of the meeting with Mother Yasoda and Krishna at Kurukshetra. Interesting, when Mother Yasoda arrived, then all the queens of Krishna from Dvarka went to see them, and they wanted to talk to Mother Yasoda, but Mother Yasoda, out of ecstasy of seeing Krishna, she was always crying, and she didn't reply to anything. And they just gave up. You cannot talk with her. This is a Nectar of Devotion, chapter 43. When Krishna arrived at Kurukshetra, all the people assembled there began to say, Krishna, the son of Devaki, has arrived. At that time, Devaki, just like an affectionate mother, began to pat Krishna's face. And again, when people cried that Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, had come, both King Nanda and Mother Yasoda became overwhelmed with affection and expressed their great pleasure. When Mother Yasoda, the queen of Gokul, was going to see her son at Kurukshetra, one of her friends addressed her thus. My dear Queen, the milk flowing out of your breast mountain has already whitened the river Ganges, and the tears from your eyes mixed with black mascara have already blackened the color of the Yamuna. And as you are standing just between two rivers, I think there is no need for your anxiety to see your son's face. Your parental affection has already been exhibited by these two rivers. Write an image. The same friend of Mother Yasoda addressed Krishna as follows: My dear Mukunda, if Mother Yasoda, the Queen of Gokul, is forced to stand on fire but is allowed to see your lotus face, then this fire will appear to her like the Himalaya mountains, full of ice. In the same way, if she is allowed to stay in the ocean of nectar, but is not allowed to see the lotus feet of your grace, then even the ocean of nectar will appear to her like an ocean of arsenic poison. Let the anxiety of Mother Yasoda of Vraj always be glorified all over the universe. So, why was Mother Yasoda so anxious to see Krishna? Because she wanted to make sure that he's eating, that he's happy, that so that about Mother Yasoda. Now, interesting is the gopis, they went also to Kurukshetra. And Gopal Champan from Jiva Goswami, he described their journey. And that's interesting to hear. We heard yesterday that, yes, the symptoms of liberation. Liberated person was described by Krishna to Uddhav as a drunken man. A drunken man does not know whether he wears clothes or not. That we will see how they are just not conscious of the body, always concentrating their mind on Krishna. So it was in the early morning they left Vrindavan on their journey to Kurukshetra, the journey of the Vrajavasis. What I'm going to read, that we don't hear in the Bhagavatam, these details. It's interesting. The chest of Braj people quivered in anticipation of seeing Krishna. So their whole body was quivering. They were going to see Krishna. But they gave bliss to all eyes because their hair stood on end and they were drenched with tears because their teeth clattered from trembling. Their words became unintelligible. So they spoke words, but you could not understand it because their teeth were always out of ecstasy. So that is how the Vrajavasis were going to Kurukshetra. Their teeth were shattering, and so they could not speak. That because Jiva Goswami read, because many thoughts appeared and disappeared, they were constantly in confusion. They acted externally like realized soul, but internally they considered everything illusory because of the bliss of seeing Krishna constantly. So that is our self-realized souls. I read it again. They acted calm externally like realized souls, but internally they considered everything illusory because of the bliss of seeing Krishna constantly. Their bodies thin because of forgetting to sleep or eat. So these Vrajavasis, they were always serving Krishna and always thinking of Krishna. And they just forgot to sleep, to eat. No time. That they were always serving Krishna. Even those who didn't know Krishna and who disrespected him went along. Somehow, they all went to Kurukshetra. Yeah. And now, this is on the way to Kurukshetra. Nanda and others smelled Krishna's fragrance, although Krishna was not present. So, interesting. They are on the way, Krishna is not there, but they are smelling his fragrance. So first they smelled him when they went to Kurukshetra. When they came closer, Krishna was there with his royal retinue. So this was not a Krishna of Vrindavan, but dressed very opulent. So when Krishna and Balaram heard that the people of Vraj were near, they reverted to their coward mood. Interesting. They went back to their coward mood, although they were dressed as princes. Their minds melting because of wanting to serve with devotion, they went to meet them, but they could not move quickly. So Krishna and Balaram sent the assembled kings to separate camps with an excuse. So Jiva Goswami said the reason for that is that Krishna was thinking, my enemies do not know that I'm friend with the people of Vraj. Because if they would know that, then they would give trouble to them. So he sent them away. For this reason, to Uddhav, he placed Nanda Maharaj and the others in an isolated place where he could console them in private. After leaving aside those who were not relatives, Krishna and Balaram, along with relatives, went to meet the people of Braj. From far off, they offered respect on the ground to Nanda with reverence. Nanda's body began to shake, filled with tears, and his hair standing on end. Nanda embraced both at once and cried with a choked voice and unsteady mind. Krishna and Balaram wanted to embrace him, but because all the people present, they offered respect on the ground at Nanda's feet. So there were too many people around. Though Nanda wanted to relieve them of the fatigue of offering respects because of lack of control of his emotions, his hands could not move properly. He just looked here and there, and then he saw Vasudeva and others who said, "May you live long." Nanda and his group remained reserved. However, the kings Krishna sent away were friendly kings, because Krishna wanted to meet with the relatives only. So, Nanda Maharaj, Yasoda. In the Nectar of Devotion, 9 personalities mentioned who enjoyed parental affection towards Krishna. And they are put down in sequence, beginning with the one who had the most parental affection for Krishna. So who had the most parental affection for Krishna in Vrindavan, Dwarka? Yeah, Mother Yasoda. Yes. Who is the second one? Please. You say Rohini. That in Nectar of Devotion, the second is Nanda Maharaj. And the third is Rohini. Rohini is very special because she was in Vrindavan, but also in the Dwarka pastimes. That Rohini, the mother of Balaram. And then on the fourth place, who do you think? Well, who comes after Rohini? Please? Balaram, that he had also a parental affection, but it's not mentioned in the list here. But that's true. He had a mixture with friendship and parental love. He was the older. But the fourth one, that's interesting. When during the Brahma Moha Lila, then Brahma took away the coward boys, and Krishna experimented in all the coward boys, and then went back to the village. And for 1 year, he became the son of all these gopis. So the elderly gopis of Vraj, whose son was stolen by Lord Brahma, because of course they got the Lord as their child. So that's the fourth place. Then the fifth one. Now we are not in Vrindavan anymore. Devaki. And the sixth one, Vasudev comes a little later. On the sixth place, because Devaki had 15 co-wives. And these co-wives of Devaki comes on the sixth place. And then the seventh, First canto, chapter 8. Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti. She's the seventh. And then on the eighth place is Vasudeva. Finally, Vasudeva comes on the eighth place. And the ninth place is Sandipani Muni, his guru. That's mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. Of course, Balaram is mixed, is Sakyam. Rohini was in both pastimes, Vrindavan, Dwarka. She's Balaram's mother. That means Rohini was practically equal to Yasoda. She took equal care of Krishna. Because it's a joint family. Today, if you have the nuclear family, but that's different. So they all accepted Krishna as their son. So it was a family reunion. Also Subhadra was there, the daughter of Devaki and Vasudeva. It's all one, all the children were there. We see also Pradyumna was the son of Krishna in Dwarka, but Pradyumna called also Balaram his father. That's interesting. So now also the gopis arrived at Gokshetra. And now they are getting the moment they were waiting for years. Seeing Krishna face to face. So their spiritual absorption is much more intense than the practitioners of Dharma or the Jnanis or the Yogis. This is from Lalita Madhava. So one of these two dramas written by Rupa Goswami, that Lalita Madhava. And there you have Purnamasi, she's chastising the gopis. Says, you are so unfortunate that you are trying to get rid of Krishna from your mind. You try to get rid of Krishna from your mind. Great yogis, they try to meditate on him, and you are trying to get rid of him. That's the gopis. That. Because when Krishna appears in the gopis' mind, then that form in their mind is not different from Krishna. That, of course, for us also, but we don't realize that. If we chant Krishna's names, it is Krishna. But it takes a while for us to realize. So also Nectar of this Nectar of Devotion describes this scene when they saw Krishna at Kurukshetra, the gopis, their breathing, the blinking of their eyes, and all similar activities, they stopped. They stopped breathing. They stopped blinking their eyes. They stood before Krishna just like statues. That, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have, this is from Sarta Darshini about the gopis. This Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the Bhagavatam. Although they had the highest respect for everyone and for any demigod, they cursed the chief of all the demigods. Who is the chief of all the demigods? Brahma. Here it's mentioned. Here it's directed to Brahma. Such was the intolerance of their separation from seeing Krishna. It was Brahma, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this implies anger at Krishna for the separation from him, because he is the ultimate creator. Although they are so-called cursing Brahma, it was directed to Krishna, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Pulling Krishna with their lances, with eyes as doorways, to let him in. Eyes, and they are pulling Krishna with their glances. So the love of the Vrajavasis means they control Krishna. That their eyes become doorways. With their glances they attract Krishna to get to the door. And to that door, so that they can enter in their heart, so that they can embrace him. That's the strategy. And when they embraced him, they attained Raj Mahabhav. So there are 7 stages of prema. That's 7 stages. There's pranaya, mana, palaya, raga, anurag, bhav, but this bhav is a stage of prema. Dhamma bhav. That's the highest bhava. And when they come to this Mahabhav, they get a sense of oneness. It's also Nitya Yugam. Or see, I'm Krishna. They think they are Krishna at that moment, in their madness. That's divine, the highest divine madness, Mada. Of course, this is from Gopal Champu again. We have heard from the Vraja-vasis going to Kurukshetra. In Gopal Champu, you have the gopis going to Kurukshetra to meet Krishna. So, and that's very interesting. We cannot imitate what they are doing with this. They are going to Kurukshetra to see Krishna. The gopis had their eyes closed. They were walking with closed eyes. But then they opened their eyes and they fainted. Then they walked fast. And then they cried. So this is how they went to Kurukshetra. From Vrindavan to Kurukshetra. They were crying, they were fainting, closing their eyes, walking. So, but they were filled with a longing to see Krishna. A moment seemed to be a kalpa for them. Yogaitam nimeshena, Lord Chaitanya said. That's a moment, 12 years. And they were thin, with unkept bodies, wearing old, worn-out clothing. It's interesting that you don't find in the Bhagavatam. That they did not keep themselves nicely. They were so absorbed internally, in separation. Their hair was falling over their faces. Yeah. So when Krishna at Kurukshetra saw the gopis and he saw them in this condition, Krishna became dizzy and took support of Uddhav. Weeping for a long time, he did not understand when he had come, why he came, what he was doing, what happened. He forgot everything when he saw the gopis. That's interesting. When they glanced at his limbs on that long night, how can it be described? When the full eyes of Krishna and the gopis met quickly, his eyes and the gopis became stunned. Who can describe the transformations of love that the gopis filled with thirst because of the fire of long separation, achieved on seeing him? There are further descriptions, but they are, without going to the details of the Bhagavatam, it's not so appropriate to go through them. But at Kurukshetra, in summary, Krishna was, when he met the gopis, he spoke to them Atma Jnana. He did that also to the gopis during the rasa dance. He told the gopis when they came, being attracted to his flute, he said, "Why did you come? Why did you come? You should be with your husbands now. It's dangerous to come to the forest, all these animals. So go back to your home. You don't have to come here. You just meditate on me. I'm in your heart. And when you think of me in your heart, I'm also there. So no need to come here. Of course, the gopis did not like it. But here he says the same thing to the gopis. He gives them this Atma Jnana. You just meditate on me. But then he says to the gopis, in separation you were absorbed in me, thinking of me, and I appeared in your mind. I was there, but you were thinking that it was just your meditation. That's interesting. But finally, the gopis understood, yes, it's the same Krishna. They had captured Krishna in their hearts. And it's the same Krishna who reciprocates. Way it consoled gopis. But when Uddhav before was sent to Vrindavan to console Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda, and he saw them in this condition, seemingly suffering of separation, Uddhav said, there's one verse in the Bhagavatam there where Uddhav said, I'm very happy to see you in that condition. He was very happy to see them suffering like that. That's interesting. It means the suffering is bliss. The feelings of separation is the highest bliss. And that was also exhibited by Lord Chaitanya. These feelings of separation is the highest. And that's the whole Antya-lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya exhibiting this Mahabhav, these feelings of separation. It is the greatest ecstasy so that, of course, when Krishna said to the gopis, you meditate on me, because before Uddhav was sent to Vrindavan, before he went even to see Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda in the evening, he arrived in Vrindavan at twilight. The sun was going down. And the Vrindavan was in a very he saw a very joyful Vrindavan. He saw the cows and noise of milking the cows and the birds and the parrots flying and the gopis were singing songs about Krishna, and it was very beautiful. But then he went to see Nanda Maharaj. So our acharyas say that there are two levels here. When he arrived, then Uddhav saw the Krishna's aprakat lila, unmanifested pastimes. That this aprakat lila, it is said Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. In that aprakat lila, Krishna is still in Vrindavan. And that's the same lila which is going on in Goloka Vrindavan. Aprakat. But then you have then you enter the prakrat lila, where Krishna, where there are feelings of separation, and Krishna is immatura or dvarka. But factually, this manifested pastime where they feel separation is even more ecstatic. Of course, Krishna sent Uddhav to Vrindavan, because Uddhav, he was very learned. He looked like Krishna. he had prema, love for Krishna. But still, Krishna sent him to Vrindavan because Uddhav had to learn something. He had to learn about Vraja-prema, that a higher form of love for Krishna, the love of the Vrajavasis. And Uddhav learned. At the end, he became very humble. He just wanted to be a grass in Vrindavan. But yes, but that aprakat lila, that it is said during by these feelings of separation, you can enter this aprakat lila. That's the way, the key to enter it. But Nana and Yasoda did not enter it. The Gopas, they entered aprakat lila, it is said. Well, the Gopas, the cowherd boys, they entered. But that is also, when I was studying these things and presented at the Bhaktivedanta students, I always remember Nectar of Instruction, text 8, Rupa Goswami, where he says, yes, one should chant 24 hours a day this nectarian names of Krishna. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about different stages, Varanadasa and Smaranavasta. He says there are five levels of Smaranavasta, of remembering Krishna. When you chant the holy name in the beginning, sometimes you remember Krishna, sometimes not. In the beginning, I could chant 16 rounds and not thinking one mantra of Krishna. Just mechanical. But the idea is if you become purified in your heart, then sometimes you think of Krishna, sometimes not. And you cannot force it. It's the loving affection that you make that makes Krishna reveal himself, that helps you to think of him. Sometimes you think of Krishna, sometimes not. But then Srila Prabhupada said, then the periods that you forget Krishna, they should come shorter. Periods you think of Krishna should become longer. And then at a certain moment, when we get nishtha, liberation, because that's nishtha, you think continuously of Krishna while you chant. And then you become attracted to Krishna. Ruchi comes. And then Ashakti. What is this Ashakti? Ashakti, Srila Prabhupada says, is transcendental television in the heart. Where we have a television set which is now broken, you must repair it, come to this level of Ashakti. And then, when you come to that point of continuously chanting, then it becomes deeper. And then Krishna starts to reveal himself. And the first thing he reveals is form, his beautiful form. And then he reveals his sweetness. And then after, Srila Prabhupada says in a lecture, and then after his sweetness, then he reveals the environment. You see, Krishna is in a spiritual environment. You start to see the kalpa vriksha trees. You start to see the parrots flying. So the holy Dhama is manifested. And then Krishna reveals that Krishna is not alone. There are his associates. And then his associates. And then Krishna reveals his pastimes. That's where you enter this aprakat lila. But when I read this presentation, what Shiva Goswami writes in Gopal Champu, how does he get this information? Because probably he's self-realized. He enters that aprakat lila. That's interesting. So they give us very valuable information, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You read his comments and you think of, how does he know all this? Because Krishna tells him. Krishna, yeah. So that's this aprakat lila, which we attain, this Ashakti, you can only attain by Krishna's mercy. That's interesting. His experiences of the Vrajavasis. My aim was to give you an idea of what it would be to be in such a consciousness. We cannot imagine it, we cannot understand it, but we can get a glimpse, and that is what I try to present with this seminar. A glimpse. In the Bhaktivedanta course, we go a little deeper in all these aspects. But here and there, I try to pull out the nectar and present it to you. Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions? Yes, please.
Explanation. You were explaining also when the gopis they were meditating, and then Krishna told them that you think that was just a meditation, that was very deep. And I was also thinking when we also meditate, that our meditation is possible. We meditate on Krishna, and is Krishna there already?
Yeah, the thing is, it's like the holy name. The holy name is Krishna, but we don't realize it. But of course, here Krishna speaks about how he reveals himself to the gopis and reciprocates their pure love. But it is not that we force ourselves in meditation, imagine seeing a form of Krishna, that it is Krishna. That's not. It is revealed by Krishna. And I think many devotees may have that experience, but very short. It's Krishna encouraging us. Sometimes, he does that. He does that. I had a few times that I had ecstatic moments, but then, it's very rare that it happens. But interesting is, you remember these moments. That how Krishna reciprocated. And the short ecstasy you have feeling, and then you go back to that. And it's encouraging. Because this experience gives you faith. Gives you faith that, of course, those who are advanced, they may have such experiences, but they don't speak about it. And because that's also in the Bhagavatam, if you speak about it, you'll lose the realization. This is confidential. It's confidential. And, like Gopal Chandra, Jiva Goswami does not say these are my realizations, but where does he get the information? It is like he was there, so he must have experienced it. Because we may not forget Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, and so on, that they came from the spiritual world. That very important, very nice. So many of our acharyas are not ordinary persons. No, certainly not. Good, thank you. Something else? Yes.
Just recently had that yatra, and since you mentioned that gopis went to Kurukshetra, close eyes, whatever the organized thing and all these things. So when they arrived, they saw, they smelled Krishna. This is smell of Krishna. This is Krishna smell, but this is not Krishna. And or if you can elaborate more, what is the connection between Krishna and Vrindavan? Is this inseparable? Is it Krishna also Vrindavan is not Krishna? Or, I mean, it is Krishna but not Krishna? Because they wanted to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. This is his famous verse. So what is the role of Vrindavan in this whole Krishna?
Yeah, like I said, you have Aprakat and Prakat Lila. These are two different concepts. In the Aprakat Lila, Krishna does not leave Vrindavan. But in the Prakat Lila, he lives in Vrindavan. And so the gopis want to bring him back to Vrindavan. And that's the essence of Vraja-prema. They didn't want this Aishvarya Krishna. You could say the gopis, yeah, Krishna is in Mathura. Why did they not go to Mathura? No, they want Vrindavan Krishna. They want Krishna in Vrindavan, in that mood as a coward boy. And that can only in Vrindavan. And they want to bring him back. So that is part of the Prakat Lila pastime, where there are feelings of separation, that strong feelings of separation, which is the highest. That if you want to learn more about that, then there is the book of The Bankment of Separation from this Govinda Maharaj. Very beautiful book. Describes all the details. That's above my level. I cannot speak on these things. Interesting. It's something else? Yes, please.
Just wonder, I because when you say that there's 9 personalities, which have the most elements, from 1 to 9 personalities. I forgot which book and chapter.
This is mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. Nectar of Devotion. That in that section about parental love, there you find this list that I've mentioned. Yasoda, Nanda, Rohini, elder gopis, whose sons were stolen by Brahma, Devaki, the co-wives of Devaki, Kunti, Vasudeva, Sanipani Muni. So this is the list of all these personalities who enjoy parental affection. It's nectar of devotion. Thank you. Good, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.